Hello, everyone.
Welcome
Happy
in. Happy Wednesday.
Thanks so much for joining us. So happy to see you all. Some familiar faces in the chat. While we give people a few minutes to trickle in and start joining, we'd love to hear where you all are zooming in from. So feel free to share in the chat where you're joining in from. Ben, Megan, and I are all based out of Seattle. And we're actually all just in rooms right next to one another. Rich, zooming in from Atlanta. Ooh, Alexia is not far from us. Hello from Redmond. Pittsburgh, that's a little bit further. There we go. New Jersey, East Coast, lots of people in Seattle. Love that. Come by and stop and say hello whenever. Ooh, I think we can all agree that for at least for us Seattle folks, we could all use a trip down to Florida, Mr. Bird. Ooh, Columbia might be even cooler. I've never been. It's on my to-do list. Alrighty, well, thanks so much for joining, everyone. Love the use of the chat so far. Feel free to chime in there at any time. We want this to be very conversational and super casual. So at any time, please feel free to send stuff in the chat. And then just as a reminder, at the end of today's webinar, we'll be giving away a free year of read. And so be sure to chime in and we'll get started here in just a few more minutes. Susanna, I see you have a raised hand. Do you want to send us a message in the chat? Alrighty. I think we have a good group here and we'll sure to see if more people trickle in as we get going, but let's kick it off. Thank you so much for spending your lunch or your early afternoon with us. So happy to have you all here. It's super exciting times here at Reed. Our team just recently shipped the biggest feature release to date, and that is Search Copilot. So this is the first of a series where we want to start sharing with you all a little bit more about the tool and the Read platform as a whole. So to kick it off, following our launch, we figured what better way than to cover Search Copilot. We'll start with a brief round of introductions. My name's Sienna. I sit on the sales team over here at Reed, and we're super excited to be talking with you all today. And I'll kick it over to my two co-hosts, Megan and Ben.
Yes, I'm Megan. I also sit on the sales team over here at Reed with Sienna and really excited that you all get to be a part of our first webinar together. Ben?
Thanks. Hi, I'm Ben Hennessy. I'm Senior Product Manager here at Reed. I worked on this feature launch and I'm excited to be able to talk about it with all of you.
Awesome. Yes, Ben will definitely be our product expert throughout this webinar. And just for what you can expect, kind of our agenda for the webinar, you're just going to get an understanding of what Search Copilot is, how does Search Copilot work across your tools, best practices on effective searches. You're going to get to see Search Copilot in action. And then at the end, we'll do a live Q&A to answer any questions that you may have. Feel free to send them in the chat while we're talking, and we can also try to get some answers in there while we're going.
Perfect. And we'll dive right in. Before we hand it off to Ben, who's going to go into some further detail, something that we're really excited about is obviously Search Copilot. Instead of having like information silos, we all know communication happens over email, over internal meetings, over external meetings, over webinars like this. And so the goal of Search Copilot was really to unify all those different sources and be able to give you guys all a knowledge database to search from. So going to go into our segment on understanding what Search Copilot is, and I'm going to kick it off to our product expert, Ben.
Thanks. So, high level, Search Copilot is an AI-powered search and discovery engine. It allows you to search your entire knowledge base, which includes not only your Read AI meeting transcripts, but also third-party integrations like email, chat, and document applications, for example. It allows you to get answers to your most pressing questions quickly and easily, so you can save time and make more progress every day. Search Copilot is actually built using Read AI's free agent technology, which is our agentic AI capable of search, content generation, and recommendations. It works by connecting to the data sources that you already use, indexing the relevant information, and then applying a proprietary retrieval augmented generation or RAG approach to produce accurate responses to your questions or prompts. When you execute a Search Copilot query, Free Agent is going to find and rank the most relevant data for your query from all of your sources, and then process this information with the help of a large language model to generate accurate, context-aware responses with citations. So this ensures that you're getting comprehensive, contextually rich answers from across your organization's tools all in one place. Currently, no other agentic AI has native, independent, and free access to all of these closed systems, and we uniquely allow every customer to decide what content Search Copilot can access.
And Ben, for some of us that don't know exactly what a RAG approach means, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So RAG stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation, and it's a cutting-edge approach that combines traditional retrieval-based search with generative AI. So what that means is our free agent is able to retrieve the most relevant documents and data from your sources, and then it uses the large language model to generate insightful and context-aware responses from that information. So we're generating that context for it. We're crafting a very specific prompt, and we're adjusting the output to make sure that it's giving you the right information. It's going to make search more intelligent, more efficient, and it gives you full answers rather than just a list of documents.
Love it. And folks, I think we're really lucky to have Ben here today to explain this to all of us. As he mentioned, he's been one of the people leading the charge on Search Copilot. And so I kind of want to lean into that a little bit more. Ben, you being a senior product manager here at Read AI, why did you and the team think that it was important to add a feature like Search Copilot to the Read platform?
Yeah, well, it's a great question. And frankly, it was one of our top requested features. Many of our users have been asking for a long time for a way to execute custom prompts on their transcripts. So we always knew that there was interest in this kind of capability, even from people who had only been using Read for their meeting notes. And so like when you use Read regularly, you'll realize how quickly you start to build up this treasure trove of information just from your meetings alone. And although Read has had a meeting search function for a long time, it was a pretty basic approach that just looked for exact matches against the keywords that you searched for. So we knew that applying an LLM RAG-based approach to search would make it a lot better, not only at doing traditional searches, but also by unlocking these powerful new scenarios with generative capabilities. So with a traditional search, you're just looking for the right documents or the meeting reports, but you still have to do all of that work to parse through them, to extract whatever details you're actually looking for. Maybe you're reading all the way through the transcript to find the exact right point, and then you might have to potentially reason about that information to come to some conclusion. So Search Copilot does those steps for you. It saves you an immense amount of time. Um, and once we started actually adding in all of the other sources like email, chat, Google Drive, Notion, and more, we knew that this was going to be an extremely powerful product. As soon as we got it into the hands of our team, even during like the early testing stages, the value was immediately clear. We were all using it. We couldn't stop using it. This is definitely the most exciting new release I worked on in my almost 2 years here at Reed.
That's great, Ben. Since, you've been using it in your day-to-day for a while, how has it been like extra productive for you? How do you use it in your day-to-day?
Yeah, honestly, almost any time I get a question that I don't like immediately know the answer to, I just jump over to Search Copilot and I fire off a query. It's just become so helpful that it's just like a new reflex for me. Um, And more specifically, as a PM, I'm involved with a lot of different projects, and knowing their status and being able to communicate that with stakeholders is very critical. And whereas previously I would have had to pore over various Slack channels and meeting notes, documents to make sure that I was getting the most up-to-date and comprehensive information for sharing a status update, now I'll just ask Search Copilot for the current status of a project. And I can see from the citations that I get back that it's pulling from all the relevant recent meetings and conversations, and it gives me a nice short summary that I can share with others of where things are at. I've also found it to be really great at answering questions about how our product works. I'm definitely an expert on our product, but it has quite a lot of features and it's being updated all the time. And so even if I think I know the answer to a question, it's really nice for you to be able to ask Search Copilot just to like double check that I have the right information before I go and share that with someone else.
100%. I think being client facing, especially, I've been kind of testing Search Copilot in the same way. Any question that I get from any potential people that are interested in using Read AI, I've been putting into Copilot, and it's been a total lifesaver. This has been a great overview of what is Search Copilot, but I really want to get into the tool. I don't know about you all, but I'm a big visual learner. So I'm gonna kick it off to Megan to start going through some queries that we have pre-prepared to show all of you.
Yes.
And again, at any point, if you have any questions, thanks for those of you that called out the chat settings. I think they should be fixed now. So if you send something, we should be able to all see what questions you have.
Yes. So if you haven't seen our Read interface before, this is kind of what you can expect when you pull up Search Copilot. Up here, it has the different filters that you can pull from. So you can change the dates that you're looking to get the answer from. You can choose what sources you want it to pull from. And you can also decide if you want it to pull from things that have just been created by you. So just your meeting reports, just your emails, things like that, or anything that has been shared with you as well. This just helps it give you some more specific answers if you decide to include these filters.
I'll pause right there. Ben, can you tell us a little bit more about why it's important to be able to search stuff that's like shared with you, or like what importance that brings?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of folks, they know sort of intuitively information that they were involved with, whether they created it or they were in a meeting, but they might not know what else information is out there that was just shared with them because somebody else said, "Hey, maybe you would want access to this report. I'll go and share it with you." That person may have never actually looked at that report. They don't necessarily know what's in it. So being able to kind of separate those two things out, I think makes it a lot easier for folks to be able to narrow down their search to the right stuff, whether it's things that they know they're looking for, or whether it's things that they don't know is out there, and they want to make sure they're pulling from that more diverse set.
Love it. Thank you. Alrighty, what queries do you have for us, Megan?
Yeah, we can see a couple examples of what you can ask Search Copilot. It's kind of just endless. You can really ask it whatever, but I decided to just pull up a few to start, starting with what is Search Copilot. So obviously Ben already gave a great explanation of what it is, but if he didn't and I needed to go in and check, or I was trying to send something maybe to a customer to explain it, this would be a great point to look at. So I'm Search Copilot, a sophisticated language assistant from Read AI that helps users answer questions and generate responses based on data they have integrated with Read AI. So that's just one example of what you could ask it. Another example are what are the 3 most common follow-up items prospects ask from my meetings? So sitting on the sales team over here at Read, I'm meeting with a lot of potential customers each day. And obviously during my meetings, I will have follow-up tasks, things that I need to send over to them. So this just helps me identify what are the most common follow-ups that those prospects are asking me for. This can also make it so now that I know, maybe in my meeting, I'm going to be like, hey, let's talk about integration capabilities, or it just makes it able for me to set up myself to know what I should be expecting from those calls.
Yeah, Read does a really great job of tracking action items like in our core product, which is like meeting reports. And so to Megan's point, I think it's a really great way to kind of gut check in your day-to-day. Am I making sure that I'm following up with everything I need to? One thing, Megan, before we navigate to the next screen that I wanted to zoom in on was the citations. So I think the really cool thing about that I've felt like using Search Copilot is that not only does it give me a great answer, but kind of similar to maybe some other chat GPT-ish kind of things that you've used in the past. We'll also cite all of our sources. And so that's been really helpful and relevant for me to be able to quickly see, okay, these were 3 relevant meetings that I had that covered this topic. Let me go back and review it. Who was in those calls? Who can I dive deeper with this on? I love that feature of having citations.
Yeah, that's definitely helpful. And it's also helpful as well to see where it's been pulling from. So you can see up here that it kind of shows me what meetings this information has been pulled from if I want to double check it. Another prompt, this could be sort of an onboarding prompt, or if you're just trying to figure out maybe what integrations you should connect with Read, I decided to ask it, how does a Salesforce integration help with productivity? So we have a native integration with Salesforce and HubSpot. So this would be something that one of our new teammates could ask and kind of learn about these integrations rather than having to sit through a training session or anything like that.
Yeah. And Ben touched on this a little bit earlier, but I think what we're trying to get at, but I think by showing a query such as this is like the integration piece, right? So classically, you maybe wouldn't be able to ask like Salesforce questions from another tool, but because you have those integrated sources, Reed should be able to pull information from Salesforce if you've talked about it in emails, from your actual Salesforce CRM. So pulling all those things together, again, just want to reemphasize the integrations piece. The more you connect, the bigger your knowledge database is going to be. So we highly recommend some of our many integrations.
Yes. Another thing that I use very often and has made my life so much easier, I use this daily, is to have it help me write my follow-up emails. So here I put write me a follow-up email with recap and next steps in a bullet point format. Adding in this bullet point format or any format you want really allows it to give you an answer that you're looking for rather than just having it spit out what it thinks is best. It can pull it in the format that you want. So this is just an example of a follow-up email with our recap and next steps. So I might do this after a long day of meetings with different potential customers, and then I forget what was this, what did I need to send to this one? What was my next steps for this prospect? I'll come in here and have it do this. So it just gives me an idea of what I need to follow up with them on.
Yeah, and it kind of like make the search Copilot work for you, right? I do the same exact thing. I think at the end of my day, if I was in like 8 meetings, for example, like that would take me probably like an hour of time to think back manually as to like what it was that I talked about with each person and how I needed to follow up with them. This has condensed that to like 20 minutes or less. And so I can really fly through my meeting follow-ups at the end of the day, which is great.
Yes, totally agree with you there. Another thing that Copilot allows you to do is search through a specific meeting report. So this we have a meeting that happened during the Human X conference that Reed was actually the live transcription for. So if you click this box here and search this report only, it can pull information from it, like what are the 3 key takeaways from this meeting? And now you'll really get to see it in action.
Love a live view. Thanks, Megan. Alexia, thanks for the question in the chat about privacy and security. We can be sure to cover that in our question and answer section. Carly, love that you're excited. And then to Carl's point, this is actually a report from HumanX. So love that you saw us there and decided to join us today.
Yes. So here, just pulled up the 3 key takeaways for me, gives me the date of when it happened and, you know, the discussion, the featured insights, and who presented during that. So super helpful. Rather than having to go through and watch the whole video if I don't have time, I can just search this real quick to find out what happened.
No more walking out of meetings thinking like, wait, what did we cover in that? Or having to scrub through like 45-minute long recordings of it. Gone are those days.
Yes, it's so great. And then just one more I had pulled up is you can also, it has some humor in it. So I said, write me a good joke to tell my webinar participants. And it came up with, why did the magician get invited to the webinar? Because they promised to make the boring parts disappear. Hopefully, so far, this hasn't been too boring for you. We're trying to keep it light and fun. But yeah, it also can just have it write you a poem, have it write you a rap. Earlier today, I had it write me a poem to motivate me through the rest of my day. So just have some fun with it as well.
Alrighty. That's enough about how we use Copilot in our day-to-day. Obviously, the goal of this webinar is to be super informational. So we want to spend a few minutes before our question and answer section on some like suggested just best practices. So when you all go out and test this on your own, you kind of know what to expect. Brady, do we have one last slide? Thank you so much. Alrighty. First and foremost, we recommend be specific and concise. Use keywords that reflect your true intent. So like who, what, when, where, why based questions are going to work really well. Any semantic based questions are going to work really well with read. So just be specific is a good example. Like I asked once, what did client X mention in our meeting from yesterday? You can get even more granular than that if you'd like, but be specific.
Another one is use filter and natural languages for better results. So like those filters I show up top, that's just going to help define what Copilot needs to search through and give you more specific answers to your prompts. Also use natural language. It doesn't need to be completely perfect writing or anything like that. Like I said, I just asked it to write me a poem or a fun joke and it's ready.
Number three, I think one thing that we really want to hit home on is the fact that at the core, like we're still a meeting note-taking tool. So it's a really big advantage to be able to have the transcriptions and summaries and action items pulled from your meetings in your day-to-day. There are not many other, I think, Copilot search agents out there that allow you to look into all of your meetings. And so we really want to hone in on that. Ask it questions about your meetings, ask it questions about the meeting reports that Read produces. And it looks like there's some Read users in here, so you all know what I'm talking about.
Yes. And then another one is just ask for formatting. Like I showed in that email, I asked for it to provide me with 3 bullet points each. If you have a specific format that you like your email follow-ups to be in, or if you like your summaries to be in, ask it to write it that way for you.
And last but not least, just be patient with it. Be ready to refine your prompts. If you give it a go and you maybe don't exactly get what you get what you were hoping for the first time you search, try it again. We also have a thumbs up and a thumbs down button. Our product and our engineering team is always super interested in seeing that feedback. So we're really open to that if you have any thoughts on what you're seeing. That's what we got for you. We're gonna shift into our question and answer section of the webinar. We have a few in the chat that I think we can go through. So thanks to those that sent some in the chat. First, we'll take Alexia Bailey's. Thanks so much. Can you please address privacy and security concerns, which would be important if you're going to connect your email, documents, etc., which might have sensitive data? Great question, and I think a very common one we get. Ben?
Yeah, I'm
Great.
happy to chime in. So yeah, it's a common question, and it has been even just for meetings. Meetings in many cases are some of the most sensitive information that people have. They're having private one-on-ones and things like that. So since Reed's founding, privacy and security has been a foundational principle. It's the most important thing for our business to be successful. We know that this data is so sensitive and personal to our users. And as a result, we've always been adhering to industry-leading security practices, which includes being SOC 2 Type 2 certified. We also support customers who are HIPAA required. And in addition to those sort of certifications, we will do things like encrypt all of the data at rest and in storage so that it's always ensuring confidentiality of your data. And the last point I want to make is that the Search Copilot system works at the individual user level. So it's not like an admin is going into the system and setting it up for everybody and making sure that they have to configure it properly so that different people have access to the right things. each user chooses to connect their own accounts. And so Read is only ever going to have access to the things that you have access to. And it's only going to ever share that information back with you. It's nothing is going to ever get automatically shared with other Read users, for example.
Love it. Thanks, Ben. We'll pop over to Carly's question. Could you upload a meeting agenda and get it to summarize the transcript based on the agenda? I think that's a good question. I think it's kind of two-parted. Ben, do you wanna take a stab at that as well?
Yeah, so I think the Search Copilot interface is a pretty open-ended prompt interface. So you can definitely put that into the context within your prompt. So you can say, here is the agenda for my meeting. Please summarize this transcript based on that agenda. And that's exactly what it would do. So that is absolutely possible.
Love it. Next, from Brian, could you show how we add sources that are searchable?
Yeah, so to add a source, you just have to go into your integrations page on Read. I don't know if anybody wants to try to present that really quick, but it's just in the same page where you would connect other integrations, whether it's your calendar or your email. Some of our integrations allow you to do both pushing and pulling. So, you can send your meeting notes to Confluence, for example, but you can also pull your documents down from Confluence. So in that case, there's going to be a separate setting that you just have to make sure is turned on to enable that pulling of information down. But yeah, it's on this page that you would go. So you would just find whatever integration you want. And you can actually see here, there's also a little chip underneath each one that says Search Copilot, if that's a Search Copilot supported integration. So you can very quickly tell which ones would work with search. And you can even filter by that criteria at the top of the list here.
Incredible. Thanks for the visual as well, Megan. Okay, our last question for the day. When you are pulling data from HubSpot and Salesforce, are you pulling from deals, contacts, notes? This must be for the sales folks in this call. And what data are we pulling from those two CRMs?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the main things we're looking at are your deals and then the associated contacts and companies or accounts. And so anything that's attached to those, we will be pulling that in, but it's all of the text that's in there. We're not actually looking, I say attached, we're not actually looking at file attachments right now, although that is something we're planning to add in the future. But it's definitely centered around the deals and then those entities that are related to those deals.
In a similar vein, we just got a last minute entry question from Ian saying, I work at an agency and manage 7 to 9 clients. I need to be showing up every day for them with updates and opportunities. Can it interpret meetings and extract opportunities for me to raise to my clients?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great use case, I would say. You can ask it sort of in general, like, over all my meetings. You could tell it, over the meetings that I had last week, or you can even use that filter to select specific meetings, right? If there were like 5 meetings that you had and you want to kind of take all of those together and pull out what we think are the most significant opportunities across those, you could go into that filter and check off each one of those meetings and then write your query and you'd get back an answer for those.
Love it. Well, I think that's the end of our questions. And I'm truly floored. Thank you all so much for showing up and participating and sending us your thoughtful questions in the chat. Transparently, this is our first go at a webinar that we're hoping to create into and grow into a series of just general education and getting more interaction with some of the people that are interested in Read. So congratulations on being a part of the first webinar. We're so happy to see you. And yeah, I think going forth, we encourage you all to try this yourself. Brady just dropped a link in the chat where you can sign up for Read for free for 7 days. And we would love to see any feedback you have there. If you have any specific questions, you also have Megan and I's email now in the chat that you can ask us at any time. And yeah, the last thing that we will announce is our giveaway winner, Carl Miller. We will follow up with you. We want to give you a free year of Read, a free year of access to Search Copilot. So we'll be in contact with you after the webinar to make sure we get you all set up. Thanks so much, everyone. We'll send you emails we'll send you an email after the call with a copy of this call in case you want to share it with you or anyone that you think could benefit from Search Copilot. And yeah, we're going to try to host these bi-weekly, so feel free to re-register. And again, just thank you all so much for joining. Have a great Wednesday, and we will see you in a couple weeks. Happy searching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.